Right folks, hello again, welcome back to my channel and time for a bit of reflection on episode 2 of Handmade, Britain's Best Woodworker that aired a couple of nights ago now, 8 PM on Sunday evenings on Channel 4. In this video I'm going to talk you through my big builds, the design ideas I had and how I got on with the actual build process, a little bit of a look at my skills challenge. Did a little bit better than the previous week, and also actually just reflecting on the show as a viewer watching it for the first time like your good selves were on Sunday evening. Before I get into that, to start last week's video I gave a huge thank you to everyone who've been in touch with all your real kind words of support, and which have continued to come in, and thank you very much again. To start this video, I'd just like to extend a huge thank you to the technicians who were involved in the series. As you can see, they pop up a little bit on camera. I won't thank them by name because I haven't asked the permission to do that, and I'd rather respect the privacy first, but they did a fantastic job at keeping all the contributors safe, being there when you needed assistance or support, and also from a technical perspective, because you're dealing with a variety of machines, new manufacturers that you might not be used to, and they were there to give you that technical support when needed, and they did a fantastic job. And I'm sure I speak on behalf of all the contributors extending a huge thank you to them. Right, let's talk a little bit about my big builds for this week. And I appreciate last week's video was a huge epic monologue. I think the term stream of consciousness has popped up quite recently, and I'll try to keep it shorter than this, but my mind tends to go off in different tangents, so I'll try and keep it on task and on track this time. I'll do my best. So the task was to produce 2 lamps. One had to be a floor standing lamp and had to have a theme between the two. Not to be a mirror image of each other, but something that could be thematic between the two. And when I was told of this task, my immediate first thoughts was Lennon and McCartney. I am a huge music fan. I am a huge Beatles fan. And I have been since I was a young boy. When I was growing up in our household, on the record player was very much the Beatles, the Eagles, Tamla Motown, Dionne Warwick, Stevie Wonder. You know, I had a real fantastic grounding in the world of popular music when I was a young boy. And when I went on to become a musician, when I started to learn the piano and the keyboard, my appreciation for what the Beatles did grew even more so. You know, not only did they help to shape popular music from the 1960s up to present day, but also popular culture as well. And being what I would call an adopted Scouser, my mum and dad are from Liverpool, and Liverpool has been my home for the last 30 years. They still have a huge influence on the city, and rightly so. They were iconic, and I wanted a design to kind of pay homage to that, really. So definitely the Lennon and McCartney idea. So as I explained last week, you have a short period of time to go away and come up with your design ideas, and I thought of the idea of these like birch ply boxes. You know, you can tell this was filmed a while ago with birch ply. I wouldn't begin to imagine how expensive it'd be to do this now. And I wanted them to, you know, be mitered, so have that kind of drawing in, 45-degree miters at the front, as well as actually on the joinery sides itself. And then there's the iconic silhouettes of the Beatles, so from the kind of mid-60s onwards. So we've got John Lennon here with those iconic glasses, and if I spin this round, sorry, I might have to take the lid off a second, excuse me. We've got Sir Paul McCartney, pre-beard, but definitely with the raised eyebrow. So that was my idea for them, and also what I consider to be an iconic symbol of the Beatles is Sir Paul McCartney's Hofner violin, what they call the Beatle bass, which you can see at the back. So I wanted the idea to create the silhouette of it. So on the larger lamp, particularly when it's dark, and I might show it with the lights off in a minute, projecting that silhouette of that iconic Beatle bass design, to which he still uses to this day. You know, when he headlined Glastonbury, I think was it last year, or the year before, you know, he was still using the Beetle bass, still using the Hofner violin bass. So I do think that was an iconic piece of Beetle's design, and also the two silhouette faces. Now the designs themselves, as I just explained, on 45-degree miters, with 18mm birch ply, and then it was 6mm ply on the faces that were cutting for the silhouettes and also for the bass guitar itself. And I think the show reflected my search for perfection in this design. You know, it's a very difficult thing to achieve in the workshop at the best of times, when you're under the lights and under the guise of camera crews and stuff. It was, you know, an extremely difficult task. Although the designs themselves look quite simple, I knew I was going to find it a challenge, and I knew I was going to be on the clock like everybody else was. You know, again, I referenced this last week. I want the design to be reflective of my capabilities. I want it to be achievable, but I want it to be something special as well. You know, this, for me and for the other contributors, a genuine once in a lifetime opportunity, and I want my kind of design ideas, my heart, my soul to be reflected in these, and for people to, you know, enjoy and appreciate that. And I really wanted to get this as close to perfect as I possibly could. And at the beginning of it, I was struggling. I was struggling to get those miters correct, because particularly when you're using birch ply, and people who've done this will know, if you're wanting to marry up the actual different tones of the birch ply, the light and the dark, that's quite difficult to do, you know. And I was struggling at the beginning, and I was having issues, I think, with the miter saw. It wasn't something I would normally do even on my own miter saw, and I stepped away, which I didn't do the previous week at times, and thought, you know, am I actually approaching this in the right way? And that's when I decided to switch up, which I should have done from the beginning, because I'm much more comfortable with the track saw. Now, although it's a different brand to what I'm used to, the Makita track saw I found to be really good. And one of the adapted pieces of equipment that I was allowed was a Festool MFT multifunction table, and I'm used to using an MFT top with all the clamps and stuff, so I switched up to the Makita track saw, and instantly much better, more accurate results for me, because I'm just used to using and working in that method, and things started to click together a little bit, shall we say. So the boxes, in relation to the two lamps, this one, the smaller one, really happy with. You know, it's the best I could have done, I think, you know, in the circumstances, in the challenge, in that kind of pressure cooker environment I've talked about, and I was really happy with this. It's frosted perspex that I used, so the light can project through it, and the actual silhouettes themselves, it was a combination of using the smaller bandsaw that they had there, and they had a scroll saw, which I've never used before. You know, talking back to the technicians and stuff, you know, they're having to give you mini inductions on things you've never used. But it was actually, when I got started on it, and I was struggling with the scroll saw, even though I thought it could be really good for getting like the eyebrows and the moustaches done, it was Paula, one of the other contributors, who came over and who's, you know, very well versed in using a scroll saw, and gave me a couple of hints and tips, particularly with my one-handed use. She clearly thought about that, and I was just so grateful for her taking out a couple of minutes of the most precious of times to help me, you know. And there was a real camaraderie within the group like that. But you know, that really sticks out in my mind from week 2. Paula coming over to give me a hand when she had, you know, plenty on her hands herself. In regards to, and I've been asked about this a few times since, my bandsaw technique. Now, I use the bandsaw quite a lot in here now, since I decided a table saw was no longer for me, and I've got my incredible Laguna 18BX bandsaw behind me. The technique I kind of use for a one-handed bandsaw use is, I always, for safety purposes, I always have my hand to the side, never directly in front of the blade, which I think is just simple bandsaw safety anyway, isn't it? Because if you're pushing and for whatever reason your hand might slip, or the piece that you're working under might slip a bit, and next thing you know, my one good hand is a couple of fingers left. So you've, you know, I always have my hand to the side, and what I tend to do is with my fingers, that is kind of for a forward or a backwards movement, and the palm of my hand here I use to kind of turn the piece as I'm working. So the silhouette of the hairdos and the sideburns, they were done on the bandsaw, and that, you know, it's kind of helping me with that. I talked again last week, that kind of fine motor control I'm trying to teach myself to be left-handed. You know, I acknowledge, you know, it will never be as good as what I was when I was right-handed, but I can improve. I know I can. And doing small little techniques like that really does help to improve your fine motor skills. So that's my bandsaw technique condensed into a few seconds on a reflection video about a TV show. So maybe at some point in the future I'll do maybe some demonstration videos so people can get a bit of a clearer and a better idea. But also there's my back catalogue of videos as well. So absolutely overjoyed with this. I think proportionally it's really good, and the as it's pointed out, you know, in the judging, the instantly recognisable silhouettes, and the light really does project out on them. The bigger lamp, less happy with, to be honest. So as I did speak about last week, these have been kind of stored away. I've not been able to have them on show in the house because nobody knew I'd been away filming this TV show apart from, you know, Pam and two other people. So if someone came in and said, "Oh, that lamp's lovely, where did you get that from?" I'm instantly having to lie, which I didn't want to do. So they've all been packed away, and I actually didn't take that out of its packaging until yesterday. And I remember being disappointed with it, really. But when I took it out the packaging yesterday, less so for some reason. So there's been that, obviously, that long period of time, over a year. And when I opened it up, I thought it's not as bad as what I thought it was. But there's a few design things I'm not happy with. Firstly, proportionally, in the design brief, there's, not for all of them, but for some of them, they have minimum sort of height specifications, height, length, width, or whatever. And there was a minimum height spec for the floor lamps, and I built it to that spec. But as you can see, I think the bass guitar is a little bit lost in the size of it. What I couldn't really do was scale it up, because if you look at the body of the guitar, if I was to expand that, you're getting a bit close to the edges, which I didn't think would look right. Also, if I just made it longer, proportionally it'd look wrong, and it wouldn't give you that instant, in my opinion, that iconic look. So I could have possibly made it, the lamp, wider, but then you're getting into, you know, is it a lamp, or is it just a, you know, it looks like a huge old hi-fi speaker, if you like. So that's kind of not sitting well with me on that. And also the bass guitar itself, I stained it. I used the wood stain that they had down there to try and get it to closely match the actual colour of Sir Paul's bass guitar. And it's okay, but I think what I'd do if I was doing it again, I would probably spray it black to match these, you know, say, so it gives it more that thematic correlation between the two, if that makes sense. Only little things, but also when I had it laid down, you know, the glue and stuff, I hadn't put enough of the accelerator spray, so when we lifted it up, some of the CA glue ran down, and that's when you could tell things were getting rushed towards the end to get it to a finish as opposed to finished. And I was a bit disappointed in that. But you know, when you're literally on the absolute clock towards the end, you know, the clock doesn't stop. And you know, on that 2 days, which equates to 18 hours, people asked me about that last week, so it was an 18 hours total in the build. You know, the more you rush, the more likely you are to make mistakes, and that's not you know, that's in everyday life, not just woodworking, isn't it? So yeah, I was a bit disappointed in myself in that. However, I do like it. You know, I was really chuffed with my designs. The judges in the feedback were very complimentary of it. To get a notable mention in the reviewing process at the end, I was, as a viewer, we'll come to that more in a minute, I was shocked, to be honest. I really was. I was very pleasantly surprised. But I have to say at this point that Wolfgang's lamps were just truly outstanding. His floor lamp, for me in particular, his engineering, his design, his execution of the build was just simply... Sorry about that, my gimbal just died mid-recording. Sorry, Wolfgang's, yeah, it is, you know, his concept, his design, his engineering of it, his execution in the build was simply fantastic. Tom and Mel were fighting over it. You know what, I would have had that off in myself, that floor lamp. And the other lamp complemented it really well. So a huge congratulations to Wolfgang. Really well deserved and well earned for the Woodworker of the Week. So I think that's pretty much covered my build, my big build. I'll talk a little bit about the skills challenge. So yeah, it's still behind me here. As I said, happy with the effort, happy that I gave it a go, happy with the result. No, happy the theme of it, yeah, the execution of it, awful. But this one was to create a pair of chopsticks, and it did obviously time edit constraints and stuff. The chopsticks had to be dead on a specific size for everyone, so you were kind of marked down for that if you didn't get that. And I can't remember the name of the chopstick stand. Is it Hashioki? I can't remember. And to build a chopstick stand. So again, I was in the midst of my musical influence, so I went with a musical note, a quaver, carved out of cherry with like a coping saw and just obviously just hand tools, and my chopsticks, which were representative of a conductor's baton. All right, and I was, you know what, I was really happy with the results. You know, I worked really hard. Again, I properly went for it. I gave 100%, like I said I was going to do in all of the skills challenges. I got good feedback from it, and I was really happy with, you know, the results that I produced. Skills challenge immunity winner Nate, fantastic. What a great idea. You know, the book, the open book, and then the chopsticks. But the absolute icing on the cake was the painting of the chopsticks as a pencil with the little rubber on the end and the colour of that. I thought, what a stroke of genius that was. Looked fantastic. Is finished, you know, products, if you like, and again, thoroughly deserved the skills challenge winner, which gave him immunity for that week. So I've talked skills challenge, I've talked big build. Let me talk a little bit as watching it as a viewer, as a fan of the show, you know, seeing these things first time. Obviously you are within that environment, but you don't know what's going to be shown, do you? And again, I referenced this from a video from episode 1. Due to the nature of, you know, the time and the pressure you've got put on yourselves, you know, we all chose to be there, you know, it's not Squid Game or Hunger Games or anything, you know, but, you know, your designs, and you are under that time pressure and that constraint. Despite the fact you've got all those amazing tools, okay, that's by the by, you know, that's, you know, the clock is ticking and it, you know, it doesn't stop. So what I found, and I'm just in my own bubble within the workshop there, I really have little or no idea of what's going on around me. So to see virtually everybody really struggling was difficult to take, was hard to watch, you know, for someone who's was in the heart of it. You know, I was really unaware of numerous things that were going on until I actually watched the program last night. You know, difficulties people were having with certain aspects of the build, or maybe putting too much pressure on themselves with the designs. It was difficult because, and if you just allow me a minute or two to explain why I think that is. We all arrived from all over the United Kingdom, and all arrived around a similar time, and we're all thrown into the mix. Obviously, you have your inductions and stuff, but you're kind of thrown into this environment that is completely alien to you. Nobody had had any kind of experience like this before in the world of television, and what it did do was we bonded as a group very quickly and very well, formed a very tight bond. We sat and ate our meals together. Those bits where you see around the campfire, those could take a little while because, they had to move lighting, they had to bring stuff down from the main set and things. And so there's a lot of time for us. We spent a lot of time in each other's company, and we bonded very quickly and formed a very close bond, and we still all keep in touch as of today, we still do. And to see your colleagues, friends, whatever you want, that really struggling was difficult for me to watch, and I really felt for them, and that was across the board. Everybody was having difficulties. I can't explain the reasons why for everyone, and I'm not trying to present excuses for people, but there was the conditions, the heat for one, it was absolutely swelteringly hot on that set. All right, if you cast your mind back to the last summer, so summer 2022, at the peak of that summer, is the hottest summer in the UK, I think, since 1976. That seems to be stuck in my head for some reason. And it was baking hot. It was over 30 degrees, and no breeze blowing through. All the sides were up. The lights as well on you. Plus, you're feeling under pressure as well, which increases your core internal body temperature, gets your heart racing a bit more. And that did have an effect. Like if you went into the machine room, which was the secondary room, if you like, that had the panel saw, the larger band saws, the lathes, all that kind of gear in there. It was boiling. It was, you had to be a period of time there, and maybe you'd have to take a break from it, because obviously you're working with incredibly dangerous tools, and people were looking after you and stuff, but you had to, at times accept your physical limitations and go, no, I need to step away for a minute here. So that, I think, had an effect on us. I don't know if this is another reason, but it was something that got me thinking, is that episode 1 was a huge wave of adrenaline for everyone, because everyone was completely new to this whole environment, and you were riding the crest of a wave of adrenaline through the whole program, whole episode 1, the whole big build and the skills challenge. And then obviously adrenaline doesn't last forever, does it? So when there's the come down off that, I think there was an element of fatigue. I certainly felt tired. I think there was a close-up on when Mel said, let's go and do a skills challenge, and she walked past, and I think I was leaning on my big lamp there, and Pam, we were watching it, and Pam said to me, you look tired there. And I was, you've got to, obviously you can't go stop the clock, I'm tired, I need to go and have a rest. It doesn't work like that, the world of TV doesn't work like that. The show must go on and all that business. But, you had to kind of manage your body accordingly, and I've had to learn to do that in life, after the skills challenge, because I was going so hard at the coping saw and thing. My good arm, my forearm and my good arm locked out. My good hand started clawing, so they had to look after me for that, because I was just, I'd reached that peak. So I think there was an element of that, and also, I've read feedback about people saying that you know, and this is coming from, you know, professional woodworkers and stuff, saying, you know, the unrealistic expectation, unrealistic designs that unachievable within 2 days. My answer to that is you don't get a chance to practice these things, you know, whole scale. You know, you want to present yourself as a keen, enthusiastic, say, amateur woodworker, you know, no professionals there, in your best light, and you want to showcase your capabilities. And as we all know, woodworking encompasses a huge umbrella of skills. You know, some people might be have an interest in turning, some people are hand tools, some people are in construction. You know, it all comes under woodworking. That doesn't necessarily mean everybody is going to excel at those, at every one, because that's impossible. Even the professionals don't do that. So you might have a professional wood turner, but if it came to carving, or if it came to a larger construction piece, then that's out of their comfort zone, and the same for the other people. And I think, you know, there was an element of that. But, you know, you come up with these design ideas. Can you put a time scale on what you could do? You can have a rough guide in your head, but you don't get a chance to practice these for 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks before you go in, and it's just a case of going through the motions there. That's not what that's just didn't happen. All right, and as well, there was quite a lot of the contributors had a kind of a carving approach to it, and that was exhausting for him. I know it was, speaking to him, and you know, and say factor in the conditions as well. That really ramped up the difficulty levels, shall we say? So that's what I got away. You know, I've watched it again since. So I've seen it twice since Sunday evening, and I really, really felt for my friends, you know, the fellow contributors who struggled in aspects, you know, and particularly the ones who took on the kind of carving tasks, because that was full on. That was really, really difficult. And then, you know, as I mentioned, Wolfgang, you know, thoroughly deserved in his Woodworker of the Week. Nate, totally deserved in the Skills Challenge. I was really sorry to see Paula leave. Although you only got to know Paula over a short period of time. I love, you know, we met up again at Maker Central this year, and it was great to meet Paula with her family, which was, you know, fantastic, and get to spend some time with them, have conversations, have quiet chats about Series 3, because we couldn't talk about it, obviously, to the wider world. And that was great. You know, it was fantastic getting to know Paula. I was really sorry to see her leave. You know, I think in her reflections, probably when the time scales of things was, you know, that was a difficult challenge to take on, what she did take on, and you know, and you know what you're signing up to when you go in, that you're going to lose somebody at the end of each episode. And you know, I only got to know Addy briefly, lovely guy, top bloke, and then, you know, Paula, again, lovely, lovely person. I was really sorry that, you know, she left the show on episode 2. Okay, folks, I think that's it, apart from one more thing I'd like to talk about, because as I've done my absolute best to reply to any of your messages via social media, your direct messages, your emails, or your contacts via the website. I suppose this is a little bit of a shameless self-promotion, but maybe it is my YouTube channel should talk a little bit more about this. My website, which is, you know, the link is in the description, will come across the top now. I do have on there a members forum, so a subscription service, if you like, which is a flat fee of £3 a month. And what does that £3 get you? It gets you behind the scenes videos to videos like this, but, you know, some of the builds as well. But what it does do is talk in even more depth. I've realised I've gone on an epic monologue again. I'm sorry about that. But, you know, I do talk a little bit, probably at a slower pace, and talking a little bit more detail about experiences. So I've got behind the scenes videos on that. It also gets you ad-free access to the YouTube, the public facing YouTube videos. And I also have some, not many, some vlog videos on there with more to come. It's something I need to pay more attention to, which is maybe a little bit more of a step away from the woodworking, and I talk a little bit more openly and honestly about living with my disability and living with the issues around my mental health in the last sort of 5.5 years, because, you know, sometimes you know, I need to step behind from public facing YouTube stuff, and I do have stories I want to share, and I don't feel comfortable in that position enough to be sharing those publicly on YouTube. So I do have them in the members forum and the members section of my website. So if you want to maybe check that out, you know, visit my website, click on the members area, and maybe you'd like to sign up and check out that additional content. Okay, folks, I think that's it for me for this one. So episode 3 next Sunday, so is that the 22nd? That sounds about right, of October, 8 p.m. on Channel 4. Catch up is on all 4. International viewers, I'm sorry, I will keep an eye out, and as soon as I hear anything from the production company, they will, you know, I will keep you posted either via social media or on some video content as well. Okay, that's it, folks. As ever, take care and look after yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.